truth is about facts. It's about the things that happened, the evidence of what actually happened, the things that are not part of anybody's story. It's just circumstance. And then there's the lenses of experience of those circumstances. And that's where story comes in, because that's where people come in. It's tough to have a story that means anything without characters, without people, right? It's much easier for everyone to agree on what the circumstances are than it is for everyone to agree on what meaning should be derived from the experiences of different people or groups of people or community of those circumstances. And so it becomes a more charged and loaded set of decisions around whose stories do you tell? When do you tell them? What points are you trying to make? And I think, had the Charleston shooting happened 20 years ago, we'd be telling a very different set of stories. Had the Charleston shooting happened 20 years from now, we'd be telling a very different set of stories. So, is it Fox News, or is it MSNBC, or is it CNN, or is it the New York Times, or is it the Charleston Post and Courier, or any other local news source? I hope I got that name right. Every decision about whose story you tell, or whose story you aggregate or elevate, is what in the industry would be called an editorial decision. And that's not always talked about, because it's not dangerous, it's just selective, so you need to be aware. There's no one answer to what the criteria might be for how a newsroom decides what stories to tell in the aftermath of an event, or even in its ordinary coverage. There are so many factors to that equation, including who the reporter is, where her passion is. She may be drawn naturally more to one element of a story than another. Whether the news organization feels that the community needs to learn, wants to learn something, or needs a certain kind of issue explained at more depth, or if there's already anger around certain issue, they may choose to, approach it differently. There is no one answer, but I do think the conversation happens. And where it's dangerous is where that conversation doesn't happen at all, where things are just taken for granted. Maybe someone in the newsroom sort of always makes these decisions and it's never a discussion. Something is just sort of decided, and that's where a newsroom culture can get toxic, or at least stale or stagnant. And what's particularly dangerous is when a news organization is detached from its community, the people it actually serves. And I think that has happened and can happen when journalists do most of their reporting from their desk, and more and more maybe rely on the internet as the source of all voices. That can get dangerous sometimes, even though it can also be the source of many more voices than you would ever dream of. So there's a lot at play in that, and I hope newsrooms will always have that discussion, and that communities will hold them to it. That if communities ever feel like you're supposed to be serving us and you are clearly not considering our voice in this, that they find a way to speak back and say, hey, we're here, and you're not listening. What you're communicating is very tone deaf to us, either in the selection of the story or the way it's told.